To talk further on this, I am now being joined in the studio by Dr. Abbas G. Idris, President, Risk Manager Society of Nigeria, RIMSON. He has extensive experience in insurance and risk management and holds multiple academic degrees, including Ph.D. in political economy and development studies. Abbas Idris has attended numerous local and international courses and conferences. He is a fellow of several professional institutions, including Risk Managers Society of Nigeria and Institute of Disaster Management and Safety Science. He is a recipient of the 2020 Federal Capital Territory Administration's Outstanding Leadership Award. He successfully led FCT Emergency Management Agency for 10 years. He has developed and implemented emergency management strategies for the FCT, and Dr. Abbas G. Idris has been recognized for outstanding leadership and contributions to disaster risk management. Welcome to Lens on Africa, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and I would like to congratulate you for the new feathers added to your cap.
Thank you very much.
You are now the president of Risk Manager Society of Nigeria.
Yeah, by the grace of God. Thank you very much.
All right, so more strength for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now to start this discussion, we want you to give us your extensive experience in emergency and risk management. How would you describe the current state of risk management on the continent of Africa?
Well, you see, thank you very much for this opportunity. Risk is everywhere. And when we are talking of risk management, we are talking about a diverse culture, management culture of how you can be able to promote a risk management culture in your own environment, in your own business. And we also expect government, as it is also, to also inculcate the culture of risk management so that a lot of things could be managed very well. In risk management, what we are propagating is that because they are diverse, you can be able to filter them, assess them, own them, and transfer them, and also retain certain part of the risk. In your own business, you can also do the same assessment. You try as much as possible to identify those risks associated with your own businesses. And by the time you get to identify them, you filter them. When you filter them, you can now be able to share them into different categories. And then transfer some of them. There are risk bearers who are professionally, that is their own business, to come in and take the risk that you cannot be able to retain. And you can avoid certain ones, and you can also take some to retain them based on the scale of preferences that you give to such risk. So in Africa, mostly you find out that government is not really working on that, and that is why we are failing in our own budget. We are failing in our project infrastructural development. You start a project, something will just come in because there was no prior assessment, and it will terminate the project haphazardly. And also you see that even your own budget, the budget you tie to dollar, there are risks attached to it because you make a certain amount that is determined by OPEC, and along the line you see that you didn't get near that, something could happen, and then it will trigger the price to drop down below your own expectation benchmark. So if you don't plan for it, that is what we call risk management planning. If you don't plan for it, you are into it for that throughout the year, and you will have a deficit budget throughout, and that will affect all the projects line off for that year. So that is why the risk management culture has to be taken more seriously by the government, and we are propagating that we should have a chief risk officer in the Federal Civil Service, who in each ministry, the way you have procurement director, you should have a chief also risk director who will be monitoring as you are planning to do some project. He is also assessing the risk. And from there, you can balance up and then try to remove certain risks, like I said, transfer them to those who can be able to really manage it for you. All these floods that we are talking about, it can be transferred and then be sold out.
A major problem.
Exactly, every year, every year. And it's depleting our own economy, our own resources, because you line up a project, a project, but flood will come. You have to take money from that source and then fund the flooding, and either by setting up a committee to just go and work, or buying food, relief materials, which is uncommon, which is not supposed to. So you can transfer that. Flood is a risk that can be covered by the insurance companies. So transfer the risk of flooding, carry out an assessment nationwide and we have two bodies. The beauty of it is that we have two bodies. We have the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, who is giving us the rain pattern of the country.
Prediction.
Yes, rain prediction. And then we have Nigerian Hydrological Services, who is telling us about the flood outlook per location. So they normally come out to say 30 out of 40 local governments are going to have flooding. So you are okay. Just if you think you cannot be able to cope by taking 30 local governments, shouldering them, 30 of them, for any kind of the impact they are going to have, then transfer the risk to those risk bearers. Pay a token to them, and then they will be responsible. Whenever something happens to these 30 local governments, the assumption by those risk bearers is that not that 30 local government will be affected at the same time for that period of time. So therefore, maybe out of 30, 10 will be affected. So they can be able to pay the claims on 10 local government instantly and then continue with their own projects. So you can see that thing is done. Having done that, you are not just going to rest, because you have to be monitoring also and controlling the risk, because more risk will come in. Like I said, we are living in a risk. If you think you have a risk of flooding as a result of dumping of refuse, there could be, or climate change, or there could be a flood that might come as a result of somebody who just violate the master plan of the Federal Capital Territory or any city, just built along the waterways and block the water. So your attention was dumping refuse. People were dumping refuse on the drainages you already created, but somebody somewhere is building along the water course. So these are the things that you'll be monitoring continuously and assessing, and so that you can be able to give attention to it.
All right. You have actually spoken extensively on the strategies and, of course, what needs to be done and who plays the role of what, in this instance. Now, what role do you see international partnerships playing in enhancing risk management capabilities and fostering sustainable development in Africa?
Yeah, you see, because of the climate change, and the problem that we're having is mostly international in respect of the climate change, because the pollution and also all the damages are caused by those so-called developed countries, and then it's coming to less developing nations, and that is why climate financing is now the main problem globally, and America is withdrawing from that, and they are the major culprits in terms of adding more problem to climate change in the less developing nations. So therefore, we need to really sit up as a nation and ensure that, I'm talking in Africa, collectively, to ensure that we have a common pool that we will be able to really source and fund climate change. Adaptability also is key. If you go to a village, talk to any person, if they know anything about climate change, they will tell you they don't know. But they know that the pattern of living, the way it has changed. Sure. But they don't know that it was a climate change as a result of the climate change and global warming. So what do? We have to educate our public also. We have to enlighten them. Because every risk and every disaster comes with early warning. It doesn't just come like that. It comes with early warning. What is expected of us is that as a nation, or as a government, or as a people, is that there should be an early response, to that early warning. And even those, if you go to some villages, there are ways they understand it's going to rain. It will tell them.
From the cloud formation.
Apart from the cloud formation, they have traditional way of knowing whether it's going to rain or not. If you tell them the cloud has formed, it's going to rain, they will tell you not today. And it will not rain.
Okay.
And also, if you go out, you see those people living with disabilities. They also identify also early warning. A blind man in the village, he will raise his head like this. You tell him that, it's going to rain. He will raise his head and he will tell you, no, this one is not for today. Okay. And it will not. So they have their own way of doing things. And then there are certain things, there are certain also group that when they look at the tree, the way the tree, the air blew the tree, they will tell you that no, it's not going to rain or it's going to rain. And so there are always early warning for us to know whether certain things will happen or not.
And how we know about these early warnings? What do we do?
We're supposed to. That is why I said there should be early response.
But is it effective?
Very effective.
In this part of the
if we apply it,
part
yes,
of Africa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You see, in a country whereby they plan for those things, there are evacuation centers. When you know that it's going to rain, and we know the pattern of rain already, the NIMED has given us that it's going to rain, focus that this is going to be the pattern, and they are giving three days now. In fact, not up to 3 days. The impact analysis of the rain and the weather condition that we are going to have. So if they have given you an impact analysis, that means you can be able to evacuate people from a hazard area to a less, safer ground. So you can move such people to a safer ground and allow the rain to fall in that area. So you have saved life and you have saved property. The properties that can be moved out immediately can be moved to that safer area. But in a situation whereby we fold our arms, waiting for nature to take its own place, and that is where people die and they lost their own property.
But evacuating people to safer ground, then after maybe dry season, bringing them back,
yes.
would that solve the problem?
It happens.
Because we have to get a long-term solution.
There are certain things that you cannot have a permanent solution, especially something to do with the climate change, because it's something that you cannot predict. It's something that is coming, and every year you see the intensity is increasing. So therefore, all you need to do is to make sure that you take adaptable programs that is going to save life and property. And if you go to developed countries, you see that they move people, especially elderly people and children, to the evacuation center. The evacuation center is well equipped. Even if the disaster is going to be for 1 year, they will be safe there. And you, as a journalist, you will continue to practice your own journalism from the evacuation center. You don't have anything to fall short of. So we can do that. But in a situation whereby it is just for a while, you move people and you bring them back. But in Nigeria, for instance, we are approaching dry season and not our rainy season.
It's already,
good. So if you move people, you identify that this people is prone to flooding. You have to move people permanently throughout the time to a safer zone, so that you don't.
Implication is high.
It's better to invest and move people there than to allow them to die.
Sure.
Because even if you don't move them, you don't spend such money, that money will not be there for you. It is going to be spent for another thing else. So is it not better for moving people to a higher ground and equipping the evacuation center? But we don't have any evacuation center, unfortunately. The one built at Lokoja has not been occupied. And there was one also built in Mina, also by the river for the fishermen. Every year people are dying because they don't stay in that evacuation center.
All right, it's quite touching. Now, where is the place of technology, data analysis? Of course, you've talked about weather predictions, how it helps, plan, make government plan for evacuations and the rest of them. in terms of innovative technology, how can that help in this instance?
Well, we live in an era whereby